Thanks for being here today. The topic we're talking about in terms of the managing and building and managing across domains tends to be a particularly hot topic, one that a lot of people in Cisco and with our customers, with our partners are very passionate about. We talk about it all the time, and I was particularly kind of keen to maybe have a little talk and try to clarify some of the things that aren't necessarily always very clear. It's not an easy one because it's a moving target that's moving all the time. So before we start, I have to tell you that in terms of timelines and exact dates and all of that, that tends to be a little bit tricky. But we'll try and address any questions you've got as much as we can, all right? My name is Magdi Lewis. I work as part of the SP specialist team for a number of years. We sell enterprise networking solutions to service providers, and this year I also cover some of the UKI customers. We look after enterprise networking. My career, I've kind of alternated service provider, EN, overlap, and some security as well. I'm based in Ireland, and I also look after a community of engineers and architects in Cisco who sell enterprise networking, everything, and Catalyst, Meraki, IoT, we sell to our service providers. And like I said, I'm based in Ireland. In my downtime, I like to, like everybody else, try to de-stress. IT is a stressful job now. So do a little bit of video games sometimes. I like to play chess. I used to do that competitively when I was younger, but God knows, it's kind of challenging to do that at this point. And I like playing squash. And the interesting thing about it is a two-way street. Think about the relationship between a service provider and their customer. It's a back and forth. A vendor and their customer. You and your internal customer. It's a two-way street. You're always taking the back and forth. And that's kind of the whole point of bringing this up, that squash and that two-way synergetic relationship. You're trying to build that between you and your customer. And to be able to build smoothly, you're building a branch. You're managing across different technologies, across different silos. Hands up if you think this is very easy. No? I didn't think so. So we try and just make it a teeny bit easier and clearer, or point you in the right direction, and hopefully this 30 minutes provides some value in that aspect, right? I should say, if you would be so kind to, point at that QR, log in there, what I'll do is I'll talk for 2 minutes on the next slide, and then there's a little poll running. So I'd like you, if you will, after seeing the next slide, put what's top of mind for you. What do you think your main concern is? And let's see how many of us are on the same page, and we can check that live, yeah? Super? So, I'm sure you've seen this slide in other decks, but if you think about where we are, you start coming in from your home office, from enterprise, from factories, you've got cameras, you've got all sorts of clients, people from their phones, such as yourselves today, and you're all connecting, and maybe you're connecting through a network, an access side. There's a WAN network, there's an access, there's switching, there's wireless. You're going to Meraki dashboard, maybe there's Catalyst Center, ACI, ICE, third party, there's firewalls in the mix, there's hyperscalers in the mix over there, and there's all sorts of things. There's ticketing systems, so we often think about the technical constructs, but there are non-technical constructs. At work, do you have kind of help desk systems and ticketing systems like ServiceNow and Remedy and others? Anybody who's using something nods around, right? So that's part of the whole, approach. So as you go through that and you're looking at, okay, what do we do? How do we simplify? I want to simplify two things. Building a site, right? So you've got a new site, you've got an interconnect with campus DC, you're building some construct of a mix of this, and you want to simplify that build rather than being a complex cross-functional project that takes a long time. You want to make this more, what's the word, smoother, right? And then number two is, day two, I want to manage, I want to monitor, I want to troubleshoot, I want to fix, I want somebody to raise a ticket, I can go retrospectively, look at what's going on and do it. And yes, You go to a session on Catalyst Center, it'll promise you, and it, quite rightly so, that it does that, and you can go back in time, and the Meraki dashboard does it brilliantly, and maybe the firewall dashboard. But the point is, you've got all of these, and then, okay, I want to be able to do that. So what we want to talk about is, we've done just that little introduction, and did that, my little spiel about the problem, but what I would like to talk to you about is two things. How do we build across domains, and how do we manage across domains, right? We are in a bit of a, don't really like saying that, but we are actually on a bit of a journey to try and bring everything together. We were just talking about it internally this morning, and along this journey there's a lot of steps. I went to one of our customers, I think it was a day or two ago, and they are using a mix of on-prem and cloud and third-party, and they're like, I want to manage it all, and I'm kind of going nuts. I need it on one place, right? What can I do? And I was like, I don't want to be cheeky, but you can come to that session. Because that's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly the poster child for the problem statement, right? So let me just switch and see what you guys think, if we're all on the same page. Did anybody put? Sorry, I don't mean to lead you away. Integrations, you're certainly in the right place. Who says tired of AI? I think we all are. You go to any conversation, but you know what? I love it, because these are the 2 points I wanted to touch on. And you quite rightly, you're all bang on the money. Integrations, how do I make all my systems talk to each other, talk to a master single pane of glass, and integrate all of that together? And two, what's the other biggest complaint everybody says? Take our SD-WAN, for example. It's brilliant. It's super powerful. It does a lot. And people turn around and say, well, I don't know how to configure this, or I don't know how to configure that. Can you maybe help me? Where do I need services? What do I need to do to make it happen? And now, forgive me for what I'm going to say, but there's Gen AI components that will generate the constructs. There's predictive networks. There's all sorts of things that help you do that. But again, the capabilities, even though we try to simplify and we try to use the same magnetic UI and we try to use the same stuff, it's still going to be in different areas. So what we want to do in the next few minutes, I can promise you very, very quickly, I can promise you two things, right? I can promise you we'll move very, very quickly, so pay attention, hold on to your seat. And I can promise you the only fudge you'll get out of this session is fudge chocolate. But we'll keep it really real, okay? But we want to talk about the integrations and how we can simplify our life, make things easy by using that common pane of glass. And okay, I got this pointer, but I haven't figured out how to switch applications yet with it. So if we talk about building across domains, and that's where Workflows is brilliant. And I have to tell you, I've been there a long time, and there's few products or few new things that got me excited like Workflows. Because if you think about where we're starting, you've got multiple on-prem platforms, multiple cloud platforms, there's no little integration, or you're begging, different platforms for integrations. You've got a whole mesh of them, and simplicity is where out of the window. Then we go maybe into a fewer platforms, so we're a little bit better. But are we there yet? No. But then with Workflows, we're looking at one platform to be used on-prem, in the cloud. You can use whatever systems you want. We're not going to look for these systems to, can you do this for me because that's what I need. Let them be what they are, and Workflows connects them all together. It uses all the adapters. So the adapters are like device drivers. They're languages. Think of it like you all speak different languages, right? Now, I'm nowhere near smart enough to speak all these languages, but imagine if I was doing that and I could speak to each one in his language, and then I'm not asking you to understand, you know, a colloquialism I would use, an Irish colloquialism I'd use, and I explain, there's no need. I'm talking to you in your native language, to each one of you. Wouldn't life be so simple? You know, like Star Trek, Universal Translator thingy? Any fans? So this is what Cisco Workflows does. Workflows is focusing on talking to each system in its own way. It's got adapters. And let's just get something very, very clear. There is a lot out of the box. But it's also allows you to build your own stuff. So it's got the power of both. If I told you, here's a system and you can build the connectors, then you'll say, oh, that's a big task, I don't have the time. But if I said, oh, here's a system and you've got the connectors built, somebody will turn around, I can guarantee you, and say, I want to build my own. So we give you both. Doesn't get any better, does it? So you've got the connectors to third party, you've got the cloud connectors, the on-premise connectors, you've got single sign-on, the same magnetic UI you see in Catalyst Center and Meraki on all our dashboards now. You see that, and you can cross-platform navigation, so that's the whole Cisco networking cloud. And cheekily enough, it says like everything everywhere integrated together. Right? Sounds like a very marketing slide. Let's make it a bit real. So the message I want to give today is that Workflows simplifies and accelerates your automation need. How so? So you've got Workflows, you've got this automation. It'll talk to on-prem platforms, cloud platforms, be it Cisco, but also third party. So you're not limited to only talking to Cisco platforms. Think of it like I want to do a branch. That branch has a firewall, has Cisco Meraki inside, has Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN, has a server that I need to build, has this, has that, and I can create a whole, like a project plan, translate that into a workflow, create that, and every time I need a new branch, I've got that little workflow done, and I can do it. How does it do that? That automation talks to, out of the box, we talk to Catalyst Center, we do Meraki, we do SD-WAN, we do ACI, we do ICE. We also talk to, we've got generic adapters like netconf, SSH, and HTTPS, APIs, so you can talk to. And out of the box, we also have integrations with common ticketing systems, address management, DDI, IPAM, everything. You can really connect it to everything. You can also connect it to hyperscalers. So you're building something in AWS and you want to connect to it, and it's part of your network. You can also automate that. And you can also automate cross-lateral integration. So for example, you've got a fabric on your campus and a fabric in the data center, and you're trying to get them to talk to each other. Now, everybody loves stories. So for the next few minutes, for the rest of the session, we'll just go through a story. And it's mostly true. The only parts are not true, aren't fake. They're just aggregated from different, rather than keeping you for hours, I've kind of aggregated experience from more than one thing into that story, but it's mostly one customer. So before we do that, the architecture is quite simple. You've got those adapters. They're like device drivers on a PC. They are just how I talk to translator for this, translator for that, generic translators, Ansible, Terraform, SSH, anything you can think of that's very common these days, it's there. Can we build additional ones? Yes, you can. These adapters go through, you connect to the devices, you've got tunneling, and then we've got that automation engine and a workflow. Has anybody seen the Scratch programming language they teach the kids? You know, it's like a drag and drop. You just drag and drop a workflow. They teach it to little kids. It's very, very simple. And that does that. You've got the workflow designer. You drag and drop. And we'll see a little video in a second. So let me tell you that customer A story. Okay? And you can see that I don't have a huge imagination. I call it customer A. And seriously, jokes aside, so nobody tries to guess that this stands for X or Y. It's just a customer. So that customer has a campus, a large campus, and they're using a fabric in that campus. Yeah? BGP EVPN fabric, so our SDA, but using open source EVPN. In the data center, they have a co-located data center in the same site. They have separate data centers, but there is a co-located data center in the same site. And these two share a common connection to the WAN. There are separate DC sites. The WAN, that is, they do happen to be a service provider and they own some networks, but they also use other people's networks because it's a vast network. So we just used WAN 1, WAN 2, and there was actually 3 and 4. I didn't want a cluttered diagram. So there's MPLS, there's DSL, there's cellular, there's you name it, right? Carrier pigeon if they'll have them. And then you've got remote sites, you've got, branches with anywhere from 10, 20 to hundreds of users. You've got retail sites, like little retail shops, kiosks, 1, 2, 5 people. And you've got also partner sites where we don't always control what those partners and call centers and others have. So sometimes they have their own kit as well. And we have to create several cookie cutter solutions of these solutions, right? So now I want you to remember that diagram, if you will, because we'll keep referring to it. So the first thing they want to do is campus to DC integration, right? They want to be able to connect the campus and DC. Remember that part of the picture? So they want to interconnect that. There's a fabric here, there's a fabric there, and we want the two fabrics talking to each other natively. Can you do it? Sure you can, but you want to do it easily. So integrations, simplicity. Those were your two biggest points, right? So we're automating that network-to-network interface. So the virtual networks are extended, the data center VRFs are exposed, and the firewall supports both macro segmentation, VRF to VRF, and micro segmentation with SGTs. All of that done very easily. Second use case, so the customer, rather than having all the swivels chair between different screens and controls, we've got a single one with workflows, which is part of the Cisco networking cloud vision. So if anybody's going to ask that question, that is part of CNC. The other use case is, remember those sites, the retail, the partner, the remote sites? They've got 5 or 6 profiles of sites, yeah? And we want to be able to bring them up. So we can create a workflow for each one of these. That workflow means whenever I have, profile 1 to profile 6, I need to get profile 3, I need a site tomorrow. Easy. Go in there, select the site, choose it, bring it up. Yeah? So that interconnection, that site has Meraki, Catalyst, a mix, no problem. On-prem, cloud, working together, integration, simplicity again. So, like I said earlier, you can use the out-of-the-box, or you can build your own. That's kind of the two possibilities you've got there, which gives you the flexibility of building a custom profile if you need to. You probably won't, but also the ease of having everything, the adapters ready. But it's not only the adapters that are ready, we have pre-made workflows. So if you want to build a site with Catalyst and Meraki, that workflow already exists, yeah? And rather than you building it from scratch, it's there, you can use it as is, you could customize it. So that also helps make your life a lot easier, gives you an easy way. I always say, I'm lazy, I love easy solutions. You want to do it the hard way, that's not me. I'm the guy who always finds the laziest way to do something, and that is the laziest way to do it. So let's have a little demo take a look at what's going on. Now that video is available and you have access to it. I didn't use anything custom, so you can easily have that. So you go in, there's an automation hub, you get predefined workflows. This is like you going to find pre-built VMs, and you can take one and customize it rather than build one from scratch. So you got those workflows, you can find them. Here's the campus to DC we refer to. Here's the Meraki access and Catalyst SD-WAN example we use. There are others, there's loads of them. And we'll take these examples, right? So we take we want to build the site. You see the folder there? So it's folders, subfolders, it's very object-oriented. And within each folder, you can expand one of them, and you see, you can update them. So you can update, you can delete, you can reorder. And this is the bit I was saying about drag and drop. You could just, this is like, in Google Maps when you select the hops and you can move them around, or any other system. You could change the order, you can expand, you can go and edit this task. One of the most common things you might want to change is checks. So your business, your organization requires certain checks. And you go, here's the flow, and I'm going to draw it. And within one of them, I want to add a check. Can I add a custom check? Yes. Can I do what I need? Yes. It's already there. It's 90% there. It's 100 if you will use it as is. It works. But if you want to customize it, you could just do very little work. And it works. You have integration between all the on-prem, Catalyst, Meraki, etc., and it doesn't get any simpler. You choose that, you finalize it. We've got the adapters, we've got the workflows, and we just say run workflow. And what would have taken weeks and months happens in minutes and seconds. And you can see here the progress. This is like you ordering fast food, going to a joint and ordering fast food, and you can see there it's being prepared, it's done, go to counter 2, collect it, in seconds it happens. Okay? That results in massive reduction in labor time, massive reduction in errors, because you're not doing manual, you're not copying from here to there. Oh, I chose the wrong VN number, I didn't match the right one, I did this, I did that. No, it's automated, so that reduces error. Many years ago, I was responsible for, in a service provider in a previous life, and one of the things that burned out the people who did the implementation for us on the night was they made mistakes. They're humans, and they're good people, and sometimes they made mistakes. And we were always looking for ways to automate things. So I saw things from your view as well. And what we would have always wanted was protect the people who deliver, simplify change management. We could do more, reduce our labor costs, improve our margins, everybody's happy, everybody wins, right? Simplification, integration. And it's free. Did I mention that earlier? Oh, I forgot. You don't need to pay anything. It's cloud service, hosted by Cisco, delivered in the cloud. It's totally free. If you've got the Catalyst Center, you've got the Meraki, you have the right to do that. All the adapters are supported. You've got the access to the full templates. Cisco single sign-on and identity access management integration works. It's integrated into the cross-platform navigator, where you can go to Cisco Security Manager, you can go to the Meraki access dashboard and all the rest, and you can create your automation. There are premium tiers more related to getting access support and all the rest, like other vendors, but you can use it completely free. Isn't that fantastic? So, any questions on that part? Okay, well, there'll be another chance at the end to have a discussion if you want. So this, if you noticed, what is the one thing we didn't do here? We built sites, we built integrations, we brought things up very quickly, very nicely, very pretty, but we didn't manage day 2. That's a workflow. You click, done, end. Yes? But if I want to manage day 2, today Workflows doesn't do that. It might tomorrow. I'm not saying anything, I shouldn't, so don't get me in trouble. But for now, there's a separate tool that does that. And that is Catalyst Center Global Manager. What the Global Manager does is exactly that. It looks at Catalyst Center, SD-WAN, other systems. It doesn't have third party just yet, and it doesn't do Meraki just yet, but it's a moving target. It allows you to manage the systems, to monitor across. If you have multiple clusters, if you have a global network, if you have, sometimes you have scale considerations. You can't run one Catalyst Center, you need to run multiple, right? And you need to manage across all of these. So the same story, same concept, same everything we've discussed applies here. And we can do that. You can also monitor, you can also search. So let's say you've got 6 or 7 Catalyst Center clusters, and you're looking for that endpoint globally. How do you find it? You can do that from here. So CCGM runs as a virtual machine, and it's a very, has anybody seen the requirements for a single Catalyst Center? This takes 8 CPUs, 16 gigs of RAM. You can run 10 of these on my laptop. Yeah? It's very, very humble in its requirements, very easy, which means if you run it in your hyperscaler, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. Or if you run it on-prem, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's able to manage Catalyst Center and SD-WAN in all its flavors. It's not fully GA at the moment, so it's still in field trials. But you get this dashboard. It connects, again, you've got the adapters, and you talk to Catalyst Center, you talk to SD-WAN. Sounds familiar? And you consolidate your sites, you consolidate your scale, you consolidate everything. You look in, you've got a single dashboard, you can see it there. You can see your routing, your access, your switching, your wireless, everything in one place. I'd like to see now the analysts who are blasting less for that before in the past, what they have to say about this. And you can see there, like you can go and zoom in, and if you want to look at something in particular, it cross-launch the right cluster, the right management system. And again, it's a single sign-on, remember? It's role-based access control, site-based, everything else applies, so all the controls apply, and you're able to do this across all the clusters. So very easy to manage. You get the consolidated metrics. You also see the endpoints. Endpoints are really important because who matters in the end? It's not the switches, it's not the routers, it's not the network. It's the people, the actual internal users who use that stuff. That's what matters. Does anybody disagree? So you can manage these, you can monitor, you can see. Suppose my colleague, he works with me, and I want to find his PC and kind of annoy him for the heck of it. I can find it very easily here. Or he has a problem and I want to help him. And I can find him very easily. Solve his problem from here very easy. So just because it's got a massive scale doesn't mean you lose granularity or detail or any of that. You still have all of that. So, I promise you move very, very quickly. When we spoke about workflows, we spoke about CCGM. What I would recommend strongly to you is learn more about workflows. Look at your multi-domain design. What systems do you want to connect to? Not only the switching and the wireless, but the ticketing system, the help desk, the address management systems you want to use, the information systems, your databases, your inventory systems, all the rest of it. Work around that, and then build your targets. So you've got all the adapters in workflow. Adapters when you configure, so if you have 5 or maybe let's say 2 Catalyst Centers, each one is a separate target. Each IP and credentials is a target. It's just the terminology. So build your targets, run a pilot, and in a few months or in a few days, you'd be an absolute biggest fan for this, and you'd be looking to implement it network-wide. And hang on, hey, it's in the cloud, it's free, it's SaaS, so what do you need to make it live? Nothing. Okay? So, workflows simplifies and accelerates your automation. I should mention, or I'm required to mention, that there is, I know some might have questions now, but if you think of something, there's a WebEx Teams room that's in the app, and you can come back with questions. We'll do everything we can to come back to you with as many details as we can, right? There is also the point about the session surveys. If you fill 4, you get a t-shirt. So everybody loves t-shirts. I got one CCIE t-shirt yesterday, and maybe I get one of these nice t-shirts. And there is also the world of solutions. I'm sure you've been around and all of that. With that, before you go, one thing, do you have anybody has any questions? And thank you for being there.